my name is Jennifer McCune, and I am coming to you representing the brand Mompreneur Next Door. And this is our inaugural video. I am super excited to be hosting our very first guest. And before I introduce this amazing, brilliant, beautiful woman, I just want to share a little bit more about the idea behind this. So there are so many moms out there, myself included, how I was a few years ago, with our kids, trying to make money, trying to find something flexible, just really looking for something out there and looking for inspiration and support from one another and how we can do this, how we can have it all. And so I started a business, a side hustle a few years ago, absolutely loved it, still loving it, and have connected with tons of incredible women. I know social media can get a bad rap, but it's really been helpful and beneficial to me to meet so many wonderful women in very flexible ways around my kids' busy schedule. So one of the things I decided when I had started my business as I was going along, I really want to highlight other incredible women who are on this journey, because I know so many of us are just looking to have that connection and that support and no other options, and that other women are going through what we're going through. So Mompreneur Next Door was born. We have a great blog. We're doing these wonderful videos. We're on other social media sites and highlighting and supporting mompreneurs and helping each other really grow and understand that, you know, it's a struggle for all of us, but we can do this. We can do this with each other's help. So today I am highlighting, as I mentioned, our very first Mompreneur Next Door video with Jen Emslander, sorry about that. And she lives in Minnesota. I live in Virginia, and we connected through LinkedIn, just one of my favorite social media platforms that I've met so many incredible people. So Jen, I am so glad to be connected with you. I so appreciate you being one of the first people who's doing this with me. How fun is this? We're in our own homes. Our kids are probably running around. It's summer vacation.
Yes.
And so I would love for you to share more with everybody. Kind of what did your life look like when you decided to take something else on? I mean, you're busy. You are still very busy. You were super busy then. 3 kids. I think you were working full time. You probably had other stuff going on. Tell us a little bit more about that and what that looks like for you.
Yeah, for sure. Well, thanks so much. I'm so excited for this whole series that you're doing. And I loved it that we connected so organically. And then I just have to give you a shout out for a second, because the one thing I love about meeting women, other like women entrepreneurs, business owners, and professionals, is the opportunity to connect with them. And then just sometimes it's even not always about like doing business together as much as it is about like creating that community. And like you were just like, hey, I'm thinking about this. Can I flush it out? And here we are. I mean, that was just like, I don't even know, less than 2 weeks ago. And I'm just super proud of you for taking that vision and like putting feet to it. And now you've like connected with so many amazing women. And I think before we got started, you were saying, my schedule's already booked through September. So for all of you that are watching, you guys are in for a treat. And it is such an honor for me to be here today for the first time. So, yeah, I'm super excited how we all connected. So yeah, so a little bit of background about me. My like adult career was in clinical nursing. And so I worked in clinics. I had done anything from working in OBGYN to family practice, and then kind of landed in urgent care was my kind of last stop before I transitioned into kind of like a intrapreneur type of profession. But at that point, so I have 3 kiddos, and right now, currently, my oldest is going to be 16 in September. And so navigating through those things and the teenage years. And then I have 2 girls that are, so my middle one is just turned 10 in June, and then I have an 8.5-year-old. So they are 19 months apart, excuse me. And then my son is there's 6 years between my oldest and then 19 months between my other 2. Okay. So that just kind of prefaces a little bit on like how all the transition kind of took place. So I was working urgent care. My son was like starting school at that point, kindergarten and even preschool and stuff. And so urgent care was a good opportunity for me because he didn't have to be in daycare. I could be at home during the day, and then I was working nights and weekends. And that worked for a while because our main focus was our son. And then once our second came along, it still kind of seemed like, okay, this makes a lot of sense. And then by the time the third one came along, I had ended up kind of working more of a on-call basis. Like they would just call me in when they needed me and things like that. But during that whole time in transition, it was great because our focus was our kids. And I say that because I think that's what most people end up doing as a first-time new mom. And or parents in general, right? Like you're just like, let's just keep this little human alive and safe and like make sure that they enter the world good, right? And so we sometimes lose focus of our marriage, our own needs, our own things, because we're so in this, I still kind of call it triage mode. That's kind of a little, because you're just like putting out these fires. And so daycare wasn't working out for us. And so I was like, urgent care was, but our marriage was suffering. Honestly, we were like high-fiving in the driveway. I'm sure a lot of moms out there that are working those opposite shifts to just make their families work, save money, lots of reasons why we do it, right? They understand. And then when I did see my husband, it was just a lot of kind of bantering back and forth, because then we had to talk about the big things, you know what I mean? Like bills and all of that stuff. And we just didn't have an opportunity just to be connected and with each other. And I think that each relationship can do that first season, but then the season, you just know when it's time to transition. So once I had gone and I had 3 kids at home, I could tell that my husband, we just were not on the same page. We were just, when we were together, we loved each other, but didn't like each other. I don't know if anyone can relate to that.
I think most of us with small kids can relate. It's tough.
It is really tough. And so we just both knew that something had to give. And so he's just like, you have to quit. Like Jacob was then, my oldest was then kind of getting more into school where there was homework and all of that stuff. And then there were still 2 babies in diapers and things like that, that it was a lot, you know? So I just kind of stepped out in faith. I quit that job. And then it was amazing how just God showed up along the way with just these like little odds and ends kind of things. And then I'm not exactly sure at what point, like how far away I was from the nursing, because again, having kids 19 months apart, there's about 4 years that all blend together.
Yeah, you don't remember.
No, there's like no sleep. Like you were in survival mode.
Absolutely, I hear you.
I remember just being in a spot where, very specifically, I was in a spot where I was I was in my laundry room and I was doing laundry, and I just remember just tears coming down my face. And I remember just whispering a prayer, like really just saying a prayer. And it was like, so I was like, God, we tried so hard, because there's 6 years in between my first and second. That wasn't planned, right? There's lots of infertility issues, miscarriages, things like that along that journey. So to have those 2 healthy babies was a really big blessing for us. Right. So, and I just remember thinking, I like making money. Like I like monetary reward. And I was feeling a little like tug and pull, because I really wanted these babies and I was so thankful for those. But then I was still at home and I was just like in my laundry room, like, is this, like, I prayed so hard for this and I did what I needed to do. And is this it? Like, is this what my life is going to look like? And it's not like a pity party, but it's like a really kind of reflection on what was going on inside. Right. I kind of started to feel like I was losing who I was. And, and it was sad. If I was really honest, it was just a sad time for me. And I just remember whispering and just talking to God and just like, what, is this it? Is this what you have for me? Like, cause I can kind of mourn my past life in a sense, you know, if this is it, but I just didn't feel that, like, in my heart of hearts, that motherhood was going to be a part of my path, but it wasn't going to be my only path. Right. Mm-hmm. And so a couple weeks after that, a friend approached me about a network marketing direct sales company. And I was completely, nope, shut off, closed off. Like, it is not happening. And, because that mindset, I didn't understand enough about the industry, to be totally honest with you. I had just seen a lot of people, which I think so many people do, especially with social media, come in and come out of different businesses. They pop up and they're like, hey, I'm doing this. And then I'm doing that. And so unfortunately, I think that there's been this, there's a lack of education and then just misunderstanding on really what the opportunity has in that space and in that profession. And so a friend had approached me and she was just like, I know you're into a lot of like the health and wellness and things like that. You really need to try out this product. And the company's only 18 months old. And I was just, and she was like, so she was talking to me about the opportunity. And I was like, okay, I kind of listened. I kind of shrugged her off. I wasn't super nice about it, if I'm honest, because I just was like, I wanted a real solution, right? I think that's always the funny thing too. The older I get, it's funny how I will pray for something and then it manifests and I'm like, are you sure? Like, are you sure this is it? This is the answer? And it was kind of one of those scenarios. So I talked to her. She had given me some samples to try of like the products, and I fell in love with the products, which I think was a big part of my journey as well. They really made me feel me again. So I knew I could stand behind something. And then I knew that I could help other people around me. And then that manifested into a business overnight.
Wow, that's
so
amazing. But
yeah.
you did that for a while. You were highly successful. You built a great business around your kids. And then you transitioned to other mompreneur gigs as well, right?
I did. Yeah. Once I got into that space, I love the opportunity to learn, because if anyone out there is on indirect sales or network marketing or whoever has done it, I think the smartest thing I've ever heard was operating or being in direct sales is personal development on steroids, I think is what somebody had told me at one time. And I was like, that's so true. Mm-hmm. Coming from nursing in a space where you're serving, I needed to figure out how to, like, what did being in business look like? What did sales really look like? And like, cause I was more of that person that wanted to build the relationships and that's a huge part of sales. But when they were talking about like closing sales and meeting goals and all of that stuff, like it kind of scared me. And so I knew I needed to educate myself and learn some of the ins and outs, because I truly believe that sales it's a gift. Like it is something, it's a specialty that you need to learn how to do. It's a profession, and it doesn't matter what you're doing in sales. Honestly, I even think like sometimes ministry is sales in a sense, because you're just having to build those relationships and then all of that good stuff. So anyways, based on that, I was looking for a place that was, I was able to build my circle of influence, because somebody once told me, or I heard it someplace, that your network is your net worth. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And to this day, that still resonates with me. And I think it's one of the most powerful things I've heard along my journey, because it is the truth. Mm-hmm. And I knew that if I wanted to continue to grow and evolve in this industry, or just even as a person, that I knew that I needed to surround myself with some pretty amazing women. And to be totally honest, I wanted to take decades of knowledge and condense it. So I needed to find a place to do that. So I tried some networking groups. I did some things like that. And I just didn't find a fit until I found the Refine community. And the Refine community is a faith-based community of women business professionals, entrepreneurs, and business owners. And they all come together, and they were exactly what I was looking for, because I wanted to connect and rub elbows up with some people that were smarter than I was, that had gone before me and had done some things before me, so that, but yet they weren't closed off, right? Like they were open to having a conversation and being like, don't do that because I wasted $5,000 on that and it didn't work. Or maybe try this because this is a free resource. That's really what I wanted. So I found that in the Refine community. I was a member. I fell in love with the vision that Terry Johnson, who's the founder, she was doing. I love it that she was bringing women together to complete each other, not compete with one another. And I love that it was a space, a comfortable, safe space for women to bring their personal, professional, and faith and intertwine it all together. And I fell in love. So then I ended up launching a chapter, leading a chapter, and then that transitioned into just kind of stepping stones. I started working for Terry like 10 to 15 hours. And then now it's full time. And that is what I do full time. I'm the director of the Refine community, which I love. And so I get to just connect with some of the most amazing women across the country and really help them to create more revenue, to make more impact. And so it's amazing. It's a dream job.
Isn't that amazing? And like you said, there are so many times when I think when we're little girls, we have certain visions in our mind of how our life is going to look. And then
Mhm.
you move along and life doesn't look that way. That's just the reality. So being open to ideas and possibilities and taking them seriously, like you mentioned, rather than just saying, oh, no, that's not for me, actually exploring different ideas and opportunities. Because look, you ended up in a very different place.
So
So
good.
throughout all of this, you've had so many incredible opportunities, experiences. What's been one of the greatest benefits or surprises that you've encountered?
I think one of the biggest surprises for me has been is really being able to connect with some of the most brilliant, amazing women I've ever met in my whole life, and really understanding how they're making such a huge impact in this world. And I, again, this is a mompreneur, so I'm hoping there's a lot of men out there doing amazing things too. But for me, as a, like as a mom, I see a lot of women who are, they always feel like they have to choose, like, or not always, but sometimes feel like they have to choose. I have to choose to be a mom because it's like kind of a demanding. And again, if you think about that triage mode, like there's a lot of fires to put out, especially when you have littles. But to be able to just connect with other women and really see that they're doing some amazing things and taking like the visions that are in their heart and in their mind and like manifesting it, making it real, come to life, and being crazy successful at it. I think that's one of the most amazing things that I've been able to experience, is just the relationships and really the opportunity to connect and meet with some of the most amazing women.
And this is a case in point. I'm going to 100% agree with you. And I've learned the same thing on my journey, direct sales, personal development with a paycheck. And yes, incredible relationships, and not only within your industry, but I would have never just called you out of the blue had I not had my business and Mompreneur next door and just looked at your profile and said, let's just chat. I mean, it would have been nice, but this gives us a reason to really make interesting connections, right?
Yeah. And I just want to speak to that just for a second, because one of the things that Terry Johnson, again, who's the founder of Keeping It Personal, she does such a great job of explaining this, but it's so true. She talks about how in a world that everyone is connected, nobody's connecting.
Right.
So if somebody reaches out to you and you are a woman professional business owner, or maybe you are a mom that is taking photography, you're doing pictures casually, you've got like more of a hobby type of business, things like that. Do not just dismiss those messages on getting on a phone call with another like businesswoman, entrepreneur, because you just never know where that relationship is going to go. You don't know when your next great idea or mastermind kind of idea is going to come from. And you just don't know. That could be your next really big, great client on the other end of that. So if you always have those we call them meaningful conversations in the Refined community, we talk about it and teach it a lot. But if you have those meaningful conversations and show up to serve, I promise you that it will only add a ton of value to your journey.
Yes, 100%. That's beautiful. I love that. So all of that being said, all of this amazingness, I'm sure you've had a couple of challenges along the way. Would you mind sharing one or two of those?
Yeah, absolutely. For good or for bad, I tend to be just an open book. So again, I think that's again the community piece of it too, understanding that we're never alone. Some of my biggest challenges, to be totally honest, is mindset. Mindset is one of the things that I don't think you ever truly master. Maybe Tony Robbins has got it figured out, but besides that, and I'm sure he's got other people around him to keep him on track as well. But mindset is one of the biggest struggles, is not to get caught up in the comparison type of genre. Because even as we're creating lifestyle businesses, right? Like that's why this is why we've stepped out in faith and why we're part of this journey, is to be able to show up and really try our best. I really feel like balance is one of those words that I don't know if we'll ever achieve, but I feel like there's always this ebb and flow. You know what I mean? And that is really what creates the balance. And so we're creating these lifestyle businesses. So when there is something going on with our kids, our business can just like, you know, put a little pause on it, or so to say, right? And focus on that, and then go back to that, and go back to business, and vice versa. And so, getting caught up in like not being able to be at every single field trip, even, you know what I mean? Like as a working mom, or even a business owner, entrepreneur. And especially if you're starting something new, I'm not going to lie to you. It's a grind. It is a grind, and you're not going to make a ton of money right out of the bat. And so, but you've got to be like big picture wise. And so sometimes the whys of like, why am I doing this again? Like, is it really worth it? Is it really going to transition into like our big vision for the Refine community is to have a Refine gathering in every state across the country. That's a huge goal. You know what I mean? We've got 12 now. And like, so to be able to do that and that magnitude, that's a long ways away. You know what I mean? From where we're working right now. And so I guess mindset has been one of the biggest struggles, and follow up. I'm sorry, but as a business owner, entrepreneur, sales professional, follow up is one of those things. I've met maybe 2 people in all the women I've ever met that are like, I love following up. Otherwise, everybody else, it has to be a disciplined exercise.
Right. Exactly. And I think discipline, that's exactly it. And I think that's one of the incredible things about mompreneurs. We can be so disciplined with our children and really make sure that they're safe and healthy and have a good bedtime and play dates and whatever. And then sometimes it's hard to translate that discipline to our own businesses, right? And that can be a big challenge for mompreneurs, right?
Absolutely.
So all of that being said, you have so much wise information in that head of yours from all the success you've had. Do you have 2 or 3 actionable items, tips, things that people can take away from today's video if they want to do it, or if they're right in the midst of starting something? What would you recommend for them?
So there's a couple things that I would recommend for somebody that, let's say they're just on the fence trying to find something and get started. I guess I would just say to one, be open to opportunities. Like so it's kind of funny, and maybe you've heard this too, Jennifer, but I kind of struggle because you start listening to podcasts and things like that. And there's some people out there that are like, say yes to everything. And then there's some that are like, exercise your no muscle. And so like, I feel like you got to kind of find that perfect blend. So here's my secret to my yes and no muscle. I am obviously a woman of faith because I've already like talked about that. But the thing is that I always ask for guidance, and I always ask for clarity. And a lot of times what I'll do through that, I'll ask, so then it will continue to pop up, or it won't be able to leave my mind for 3 days. So if it's something that pops up and it goes away right away, and it's not something that I think about again, or I don't continue to see like other things that make me think about whatever that, maybe that person that, or that opportunity or things like that, I'll kind of let it go and I'll wait on it. I don't always, it's not a yes or no right away, but sometimes just waiting to see kind of like how it just resonates with you and holding on to it. That's how I've learned how to exercise my yes and no muscle. If it goes away, it's probably not the right fit for me, but if I can't stop thinking about it, or I keep seeing confirmations on it, then I move forward on it. So that's how I've kind of worked on that. And then the second thing is I would just encourage you to, anybody who is there on the fence or wondering if they can do this, I would say ditch the fear. And I say that very humbly because I think fear, again, is right there with mindset. It's something that we all struggle with, because the what ifs, right? Because it is kind of hard to be able to step out in faith and like quit your job like I did. We didn't know it wasn't like we were making enough income that it was just like, oh, I'm just working for fun. No, I was working because I needed to work, right? And somehow everything ended up working out, and God just continued to meet me along my journey to provide. And that's so it ends up being a great story and testimony, along with just knowing that we're not always in this alone as well. So I think, just knowing when to say yes and no, but not prejudging a situation or a opportunity. Like, just let it marinate for a little bit before you make a decision and jump on it. And then just try to ditch the fear. And then the third thing I think is so important is if you are in a situation where you look around you and the people around you, they're not building something, they're not women entrepreneurs or business owners, or they don't understand what it looks like to be like, I'm making $30,000 a year right now, but I know someday I'm going to be a millionaire because I know, because I dream big and I have big visions and it's in my heart. You need to continue to grow your sphere of people. You need to surround yourself with women and men, even just people in general that are going to feed into you, not take away from you. Because that's where I was at a spot where everyone around me didn't understand what I was doing. They were kind of like, this is kind of, what are you, just go back to nursing, or, you know what I mean? Things like that. Because community is super important when you're in business. We all try and do it alone in a sense, because we're just like focused on what we're doing. But when you can create a great community around you, the chances of success are just, I can't statistically have no idea, but I just know it's got to be so much higher because it's a key to what we do.
And I think that's one of the scariest parts, right? When people build a business, is they look around and it's that fear of judgment within your own network, but then some of it is possibly losing some of your friends, outgrowing them possibly. But if you envision it in a different way and look at it as the excitement and the possibilities of people who are going to come into your life, right?
Yeah.
And I absolutely loved what you said about you couldn't stop thinking about it, because the day that I learned about my opportunity, I did not sleep that whole night, because just all the possibilities, the endless, limitless opportunities just were swirling around in my head. And then ever since then, I tell myself and I tell my team, #DoItScared. Like, just do it anyways, right?
Yeah.
So spot on. I love that you said that. Well, I'm so excited that we had this opportunity. I'm so excited to share this with other people. I know people are just going to love hearing your advice. It's so incredible and wonderful and heartfelt and spot on. And I'm so excited to hear about Refine being in all 50 states. This is going to be amazing. So that's fantastic. Thank you so much. Do you have any other thing that you'd like to share that I neglected to ask you about?
I don't think so. I think we covered a ton of great stuff, but just know that, like, if you are out there and you're watching this, that the Refine community is a great place to just kind of come in and check, be able to just see what it looks like to be a part of a community. And again, I'm always open for meeting some amazing women and having more meaningful conversations. And so if that's something that you're interested in too, I'd love to connect with you. And you'll obviously have my Facebook link and all of that stuff right along with this video. So if any point you would like to just reach out and have a great conversation, I'd love to know what you're up to and how I can come alongside you and support you in that.
Well, that is wonderful. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. Thank you so much, Jen.
Great.